there's 64 gene keys, just like there are 64 gates in human design. He made them receptive and contemplative and very not soft in the way that it's easy, but allowing yourself and somebody to digest them and to truly think about it. They don't tell you what to do. They say, here are the gifts. Here's the shadow of the gift in the city. There's 3 levels to every gene key. This is what you have. What are you going to do with it?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your favorite spiritual and personal development podcast, High Vibin' It. It's your co-hosts, Kelsey Aida and Lindsay Robinson. And today we have a very special guest. As always, we are here to help you live your best life. And today's guest helps people just like you to unlock your full potential, whether it be in relationships, in finance, in any area of life, specifically using human design and gene keys. So we're really excited to talk to her about these things. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that we have been nerding out a little bit on human design, but not so much on gene keys. So we're really excited to dive into that. She's also known as your cosmic cheerleader. And from what I can tell about her so far, she really likes to give a holistic assessment of what makes you up via the stars and your astrology, via your human design, via your gene keys, and probably how that all fits together to make you, which we love, because here on High Vibin' It, we really believe as a whole that the more you know yourself, the easier life is, the more you can thrive, the more you can live in your genius and live in your gifts. So without further ado, this is Miss Maureen Webb, our guest for today. Woo!
That's the longest intro you've ever given anyone.
I mean, this is our first episode back, so I think I'm just like really chatty.
Maureen, I'm so happy to talk to you. I know Kelsey is too. You have a ton of expertise in an area that we have been kind of, I guess, attracting, because it's gene keys is one of those like words that floats around in the ether. We've done astrology, we've done human design, we've done almost everything when it comes to like figuring out who we really are and getting connected with that, you know, with our profiles and our personality and kind of what makes us tick, but we've never done gene keys. So this is very, very exciting. I want to know how you got into this work, what kind of brought you to it, what's your story. Take us along the path of Maureen's life as much as you want to share.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Like, I'm just like,
Yes.
I'm so cheesy. Like, I can't stop smiling. So thank you for that.
Kelsey's really good at that. She's the best.
Right. I feel so like, I feel so loved. Thank you.
You are loved.
So, like I told you guys, like I'm 44 and it's so wild. I don't even feel it. But what I do now was actually born from pain. For a majority of my life, from when I was 26 up until last year, I was a Chicago police officer. 16 years on the job. I worked on the streets. It was intense. It was all of the feelings. It was just massive for me. It is all encompassing when you do the work correctly. I had a very, very bad 2020, like I'm sure a lot of people did. I suddenly lost my mom. She passed away on Memorial Day, and then 6 months later, my dog died.
Pause.
Yes, ma'am.
Today is Memorial Day.
It was the 25th that year.
But still.
Yeah.
Wow. This is like a full circle moment, and I can't not feel that. Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, don't
that was just
apologize.
When you said that, I was like, oh my God, wait. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was really, really tough for me because she had to die alone in a hospital. I couldn't be there, and I was her primary caregiver. She had cancer, and it was just a lot of pain. And instead of like going outward, I went in because I knew that there had to have been a reason for it. I didn't understand it, but I knew there had to be a reason. So I started digging deeper into the modalities that I knew. I've been reading tarot since I was 13. I do Reiki. astrology has been part of my life forever. And then I had shut the book on human design in 2018 because I'm a generator, and I heard wait to respond. And I said, absolutely not, because I'm also an Aries.
Hey, me too. Yes. I'm a
I was like,
manifesting generator, but that Aries energy, I feel that. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, I have an Aries, Sun, Mars, and Mercury. So if you tell me to wait, I say absolutely not. So I had shut the door on that in 2018. After my mom passed away, I just looked at the book and I was like, I think it's time. And I opened the book, and I read it in a different way. It was like the pain that I had gone through, just like it opened something inside of me. And I started learning more. And then my dog passed away. And that was my rescue. He was a call of a vicious animal, like 13 years before that. He was my little Buddha, you know. He passed away unexpectedly, another hit to my heart. And I was like, oh my God, something is changing. I need to get out of Chicago. And then I was like, yeah, I'll get there. I'll just do another 4 years on the, police department, get my pension, and leave the city. Less than a year later, I get into a car accident, totaled my car. And I was like, I'm done now. I'm done. The universe has clearly said I'm done.
Was it still in Chicago?
Yeah. Yeah,
oh
I was
my
actually,
goodness, Chicago,
like,
what's going on?
I was on the way to the gym every morning, and I wound up having to swerve to avoid getting T-boned, and I hit a tree.
Oh,
So after that, I was like,
We
I
gowned.
should rethink this life thing. And I decided, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I went through, like, I had never once taken a medical day in the 16 years I was on the job. So I had a year of paid medical.
wow.
So, yeah. Right. So I worked through all of my rehab, and I started building Maureen version 2.0. And this is the woman that you see in front of you today. I sold my house, gave away most of my belongings, took my 2 dogs, drove across the country, and literally found a place to rent in Sedona proper, which literally doesn't happen anymore for
Just a quick interjection. I know I do this a lot, but my brain is just nonstop going. And when people tell their stories, when we first got on this call and you said you're in Sedona, your accent didn't match. And I was like, that's a very spiritual place to be. So there must be a story here. And I wasn't even consciously thinking it, but that's exactly how it felt, was like, oh yeah, there's more to this. There's no one just like, well, some people do show up in Sedona without knowing, but that is a very powerful place to be, energetically. And yes, I'm from Michigan, and I heard you say certain words, and I'm like, she's definitely from the Midwest, no doubt about it. So I'm happy to hear that I was right also. But I know you're not done. So you show up in Sedona. You're still not obviously doing gene keys because you're still into astrology. So so take us from that point.
So I had started dabbling in gene keys when I was still in Chicago, dabbling in human design, like playing with it with other people, right? I'm like, okay, whatever. I knew I had to go to Sedona. And to answer your question, which I think you're going to ask, but I'm going to answer it anyway. I've been coming to Sedona for 7 years. The first time I looked at Bell Rock, I knew I was meant to be here. And that was 7 years ago. I knew in my heart and soul, this is where I belonged. So when I decided that Chicago was no longer good for me, there was no question in my mind. None at all. Like, I tried to find a house here. I couldn't afford Sedona proper, so I was looking out in Cottonwood. I got outbid by
Cottonwood. Come on, Chicago.
I got outbid by cash 7 times. And the only reason I'm renting here in Sedona is because I got outbid. Because I finally had given up, and I just knew that I had to let go, and I had to leave room for the miracle. And when I let go, I found a place to rent. And I was like, holy shit.
How hard is that though for Aries, especially? I mean, I know Kelsey and I talk about this a lot. We both struggle with this, but like, let go. What? Yeah, it's a constant struggle, but it never fails, does it?
No, No. And when I finally let go and said, okay, fine, I clearly am not the boss of this right now. I went on the interwebs, and like in less than a day I found this place. And it was like the easiest thing I've ever done in my life.
Now, describe for the people what that, because some people, I think we all have felt this before, like this feeling of like, of course that happened. Why can't I remember in the times when I want to remember that it all works out for me? So let's describe that feeling when you saw that and you had this like what did that feel like to know that the second you let go, everything kind of lined up? What does that feel like in your body?
It feels a little bit like terror.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you just get so used to having control, and your brain automatically goes to well, if you're not in control, something terrible is going to happen. And then you go down that wicked spiral. And it takes a lot to remember, like the good times when you let it go. So it's like, it is literally a process. Like for me, it was like days of just, Maureen, it's going to be okay. Remember this last time when you let it go? Remember
Right.
when you wanted to? It's just this like deep remembering, and just telling your brain, thank you so much for trying to keep me safe. I appreciate that. But like the unknown, the trust, it's not scary. It's not as scary as you think it is, because when we actually allow ourselves to step into that void, step into that trust, magic happens. And it did. And I just have to like consistently remind myself, magic happens, magic happens, magic happens. And it does.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I'm laughing on the inside because it's like classic, right? Like the second you
Classic.
give up, it happens, right? You're like, I hate dating. Fuck, man, I'm over this. And then like dream guy walks in the door, or exhibit A, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it wasn't working out what I was doing. So I just tried another way, and boom, it landed in your lap. Like, it's just funny. I'm pretty sure I'm writing like a whole chapter on this in my next book called Why the Law of Attraction Works for Some People, but not you. And it's really like, a way to release resistance is like, sometimes it's kind of okay to like get over it, like give up for a
Yeah.
second and release that resistance. And when you're not so like, and you're just like, fine, and you just relinquish a little bit, it can be
Right.
really, really allowing
Yeah.
energy to move. So I love that story. I think you're awesome. I'm also not surprised that the contrast came before the expansion, as it always does. I think pretty much everyone we've ever interviewed on this show has a story similar, where it starts with pain or an initiation or some sort of awakening. And that part's
And so
not
do
fun.
we.
That part's not fun. We
No.
all know that part sucks. But on the other side, is the sunrise, and you get to be reborn, Maureen 2.0, like you said. So that's really cool. Kudos for being such a badass.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm just being me.
Just being me.
And isn't that great? That's another thing. Like once you decide to stop, well, I know that there's a lot of people that are still like, what is expected of me? What am I supposed to be to the world? And how should I show up? And that's another thing, that once you stop caring, like what other people, how you think they're going to see you, not even how they see you, how you think they might see you. Once you just let that go, oh my gosh, I've never experienced anything like it. I still have work to do, and I think we all do, but girl, I put my foot in my mouth every single week on this podcast, and I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is. It's going to happen. So it's very freeing to know that you can just be a goofball and the right people will find you,
Yeah. And that's what human design and the gene keys give me, and I like to give to other people. It's the allowing yourself to be as powerful as you possibly can. Like I'm reminded of that quote, like people aren't afraid of how powerless they are. They're actually afraid of how powerful they truly are.
Yeah.
Like we have so much power inside of us that has been built in, that our souls decided to come down. We're massively powerful. And we can become afraid of that power. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all that? But the truth is, you're going to be perfect. Nobody has been you before you. So you're not going to get it wrong.
You're right in the book.
Yeah. You're paving the way every day. I can't tell you you're making a mistake. I've never been you. So you pave your way, you innovate every single day that you're alive. And that's what Gene Keys and human design give you. It's that transformative. Yeah.
So how are
Hey,
gene
motherfucking
keys?
men.
How are gene keys and human design different? Like, how would you distinguish the two if you were explaining it to a newbie like me?
So I consider them a partnership.
Okay.
So human design given to us by Ra Uruhu, very, very mechanical, very this, that. When you read source material, it is very concise. It is very to the point, very masculine, right? When we look at the gene keys were channeled through Richard Rudd, who was actually a student of Ra. What Richard Rudd did was take the gene keys and make them contemplative, made them receptive. Well, what he did to human design is there's 64 gene keys, just like there are 64 gates in human design. He made them receptive and contemplative and very, not soft in the way that it's easy, but allowing yourself and somebody to digest them and to truly think about it. They don't tell you what to do. They say, here are the gifts. Here's the shadow, the gift in the city. There's 3 levels to every gene key. This is what you have. What are you going to do with it? So
it's more like open-ended almost than human design.
100%. So what I think is so beautiful is when you combine the two, it's powerful. You can look at your human design chart and then look at the corresponding gene key, and it expands that for you in a way that just human design wouldn't. You're like, oh, okay, that's awesome. And it's so mind expanding when you put those two together. To me, it's almost like the perfect, like, divine partnership of energy.
Okay.
I like
I'm
that.
feeling it. I like it. I'm actually like looking at ours here. So we have Lindsay's and mine. And would you mind like if we can share our screen and you can tell us like what it all means? Cause it's a lot of information.
Sure.
And then you got some balls floating around. You got some lines.
Yeah, there's
You got
these
blue
little
balls, you got red
you got
balls,
red balls, you got
green
blue balls. You got green balls. I mean, it's out of control.
I got a blue and a red ball.
Oh,
and a green and a red ball. Oh, I got a Christmas ball, guys.
Yes.
Oh
And
my
fun.
gosh. Okay, Lindsay, you pull yours up first and maybe she can like walk us through. So for all you people listening, first of all, where can people pull up their chart so they can kind of maybe follow along and be like, okay, I'm understanding a little bit.
So you can get your free hologenetic profile from genekeys.com.
Okay, that's where we got ours. So
yeah,
perfect.
And it's really beautiful because when you do this, you get your life's work audio for free. And it's Richard Rudd actually talking you through that gene key. And
Ooh.
he's like a poet. I mean, I write stuff up for gene keys and I'm just like very Aries. I'm just like, this is how it is and that's it. And he's taking you on a fantastic voyage. Like,
yes.
I'm not that person.
So Lindsay,
that's so funny.
Is it the life's purpose? That's the audio you said. She's 42 and I'm 41. Does that mean we're similar? Because the numbers are close.
Wait, real quick. Anybody listening, you probably did this already, but pause it, get your gene key, and then press play. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the gene keys hologenetic profile is split into 3 different sequences. The first sequence that we have are the green balls.
Okay.
And you will notice they are your life's work. We come down to your evolution, go over to your radiance, and down to your purpose. If you are a human design nerd, or you're just starting out with human design, you will notice that these gene keys are actually your incarnation cross.
Okay.
So, like when you go into human design and you go to Google and you type in incarnation cross, right angle of laws, and you like, I want to know what this is. And they give you like 3 sentences that don't make any fucking sense to you. This is the story. This the activation sequence is the story of your incarnation cross.
Okay.
And it's gorgeous. So your life's work is the energy that you give to other people. It is the energy you give to the world. It's not just in work either. It is just your energy.
So can you see, is this the only thing you need to see to be able to be like, yeah, I know everything I need to know? Because up here is like, oh, if you scroll up, there's like paragraphs. Is that just explaining what this is, what you're about, what you already know?
Yeah. So
Okay,
when you
got it.
scroll up, it will give you, like it gives you a little synopsis of
Okay.
each one of your activation sequence gene keys. So that's a little bit of the summary. So you could do that. Totally cool.
Okay.
So that's basically the story of your incarnation cross, the story of your genius, because
Cool.
your activation sequence is also called your genius. It's your 4 prime gifts. So your life's work is all about the energy that you give out into the world. Your evolution is your greatest opposition, but you're also your greatest gift, your trigger. So the neat thing about these two is they're what are called pairing partners. So for you in the shadow, because in the shadow, that's like the lower vibration. It's part of you, but these are your triggers. So expectation is a huge trigger for you.
Wait, where do you see that?
Right here below, you see celebration, detachment, and expectation in your life's work.
Okay. Yes, I do see that. Yeah.
Right. Expectation for you is a trigger. Another huge trigger for you is failure.
Oh, yes.
Failure is going to be your biggest trigger in this lifetime. And
Okay.
it's something that you need to, in Gene Keys, we call it's 3 steps. It's allow, accept, and embrace. And you're
See, what did we just talk about, Maureen?
Yep. It's all it's amazing because it happens with all the shadows. But I like to talk about it in terms of your evolution sphere, because you want to allow the feeling of failure. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Then you accept that that is part of your journey.
It's funny because I like to say, and I do really believe that, there's really what is your definition of failure? Because there is a lesson. There always is. You can always learn from it. That's the whole point. But in those moments when I feel failure, I'm like, I don't freaking care what the lesson, I don't care, because I just want it to work out the way I want it to work out. That's that expectation, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
Crap.
And they will trigger each other.
They do. Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy part, right? So
Yeah.
the third thing you want to do is actually accept that this is part of you. When I read for people, I tell them, I said, I liken your shadow to your inner child. Your inner child is there. It's screaming. She needs something. And this is how she screams, through expectation, through failure. So when we allow and accept it, we're really allowing and accepting that part of ourselves to be part of the whole. Because at the end of the day, number one, we all want to be heard. And number two, we want to be part of something.
Mm-hmm.
The shadows want to be part of us just like the gifts do. So when you acknowledge, allow, accept, and embrace it, they quiet down.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, she's saying the same thing, just with a different tool.
This
like all comes down to the same thing.
People, different words.
We always talk about this.
Same thing. There's no point in making an enemy of any part of yourself, because it's just going to cause an inner war. The way to create the inner peace is to bring everything together, understand it, hear it out, give it all a hug, embrace all of you, even if you don't like it, even if you think it's ugly, even if you judge it as terrible. When you come to understand it, you naturally have compassion for it, and then you can integrate it, and then you're whole and peaceful and more transmuted and aligned. Again, this is what I'm always telling people, and I really encourage people to do parts work and get to know the parts of themselves that they deny, disown, shun, push away, because that is just another form of resistance that does not really serve. So I love what you're saying. I'm totally an advocate for everything you are putting down. I'm picking it up.
Yeah. I love it. So the neat thing about your chart, my dear, is you and I share the same radiance and purpose sphere. Mine is 60 and my purpose is 56.
Wow, twinning.
Wait, when is your birthday? Do
April
you
18th,
mind?
April 18th, 1979, 11.
I'm the 15th, and I was born at 11:19 p.m. Sisters. No.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Okay, so we have the same purpose and the same radiance
Yeah.
somewhat.
So your radiance is your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, right?
Okay.
The shadow is what keeps you from that. So for you, it's limitation.
What is this line to marriage thing? What is this?
So every gene key has a line associated with it from 1 to 6, just like the hexagram of the I Ching.
Right.
This gives you a flavor. I call it sprinkles on top of the cupcake that is the gene key. So it gives you a flavor of how this is going to play out or how you can work with it inside of each gene key.
So is that saying I need to be married or I should not be married?
For you, I know marriage is like it's not like the best word. I think like partnership would have been better.
Okay.
For you, with a 60.2 in your radiance, partnership plays a major role in the limitation, realism, and justice of the gene key. So you will find that other people help or distract you from getting into the gift of this gene.
Got it. Okay.
So
this is I see what you're saying now about how it's like the sprinkle on top. Like this is the avenue from which you will either gain or, maybe no, I don't want to say lose, but I get what you're saying. The whole point is I understand what you're saying.
Oh, awesome. So I will tell you one thing that I have been telling a lot of people, especially those that have gate 60, because this comes from your human design, right? Right now, Pluto is in gate 60 collectively. Gate 60 is the gate of limitation. One thing that is super, super important when we talk about limitation, especially as a gene key, is what it represents. And for this gene key / human design, it is the acceptance of limitation is the first step to transcendence.
You're saying that to an Aries person.
I know, but I'm also going to break it down. As an Aries, I'm going to break it down for the Aries.
Help me digest it, please.
So I actually have the full channel of mutation. I have the 360, right? It's so fun.
I wish I knew what that meant, but I don't know.
It's a lot, girl.
Okay, it's a lot.
So when we talk about gate 60 and the gate of limitation, and especially for you because you have it, we have to accept that the person that we are right now is limited. Lindsay right here can only go so far. Once you accept that the you of today can only go so far, it allows us to then go, wait a minute, there has to be more. And then we jump up to our next level. That is the first step to transcendence. So as long as we say, hey, the present is right now, this is who I am. I can only do so much with what I have right now. I don't know what I don't know. Once you accept that, you can continue to evolve and move up and transcend into the next best, greatest version of you.
Got it.
And that's happening on a collective level. But for you, it's a little bit extra important because it's part of your actual chart. Well,
and the good thing is I see over evolution, I see this education thing, and I really do love to, like, I'm a huge advocate for learning more and more and more. Like I can't.
Oh my God, 100. Like you're a 6 line girl. Like that's your job.
Yeah. So I think that is, now that you've explained it, the limitation, me as Lindsay 4.0, before I can get to 5.0, I need to remember or think about like, oh, okay, well, this is where I stop and she begins, kind of thing. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. it's really, really neat. So
yeah, I like that. I like that idea. That's way more palatable than saying like humans are limited, which they are, but I don't want to know that.
but
I don't
even
want to
if
like,
you do know that, the fact that there's more after that limitation, when you don't
yes,
see it, when you don't
exactly.
see it like as something negative, you think of it as a springboard to your next best version. Limitation
Mhm.
isn't so scary. Once you change your perspective and you look at it from a different lens, like failure isn't failure, it's an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
It's that perspective. When you shift your perspective, man, the whole entire world is just, it falls at your feet.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's great. There's a lot of weird words in here, I'm not gonna lie.
I know.
So what is this intoxication? Is that what that says?
Yes.
Intoxication under purpose.
Oh, but that's your city. That is the divine essence of gate 50, well, gene key 56. So in the so this is your purpose sphere, right?
Right.
Your purpose sphere is literally exactly what it sounds like. It is your purpose in life.
My purpose is to be intoxicated.
No.
I mean, look, it's not, if it says it here, then it must be true. No, just kidding.
Obviously. Well, in a way, I mean, I did not make these words up, but let me explain a little bit of it to you. So in the shadow of your purpose, you may feel distracted. Now, don't forget, just like up here with your life's work and your evolution, them being pairing partners and them triggering each other, your radiance and your purpose also trigger each other. So when we look at the shadow of your radiance of limitation, limitation triggers distraction.
I gotcha.
So in the shadow, oh my God, you're distracted, however that looks for you. When you allow, accept, embrace that distraction, you're able to then come up to the gift. And that's the sauce for you. Your purpose in life is to enrich the lives of not only you, but others. Right? Then you get to enrich through probably education. That's my guess. 6th line, right? And you become so in tune with what you are doing, who you are as a person, it can become a form of intoxication.
Got it.
I would even say bliss.
So that's like that lit up feeling. Like that, when I see that intoxication, it means like I'll know it's right when I feel that, because that's
100%.
true for me, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So then what is this line 2 fluids? What is that? Because now I'm thinking intoxication again with fluids.
Oh yeah, no.
Let's
Don't.
go.
Oh my God, no. I am in no way, shape, or form at all. No. Oh
I'm having so much fun with this intoxication thing.
I know, right? I almost want to be like, yeah, just go ahead, knock yourself out, have a couple drinks, kick back, enjoy yourself.
It says it in my gene keys, guys. No.
Side note, real quick, if you guys want to watch what we're watching and look at what we're looking at, join our Patreon. It's only a couple dollars a month, and you can watch the videos for every single episode, and there's extended content, and then you can actually follow along and not be like, what are they talking about? So go to patreon.com/highvibe. It's always in the show notes. But if you're confused and you really want to see what we're seeing, go there.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're following along on your own gene keys, I'm right now staring at the lower one, all the way at the bottom that says purpose. Yeah. And
cool.
She's gonna
so we touched on the life's work.
She's gonna tell me what fluids mean. What do fluids mean?
So when I see this as a 2 line, fluids isn't like blood. It is the flow. It is how you flow through life. How do you walk posture? How do you walk through life? How do you flow through life? When we look at the 2 line, when we look at it up in the life's work, it's actually all about being the dancer, being in rhythm, being in being in your natural state. So for you, that's like the archetype. Like how do you enrich your life and the lives of others through the flow of your day? Through what flows easily for you. As a 2 line, you're hermit natural, right? You have gifts you don't even know. I'm a 2/4 generator.
In human design, yeah.
In human design.
I'm a 6/2, so that's what role model hermit, I think, is what is me.
Yes.
Yay.
And with the 2-line, it's just like, oh my God, I have a gift, and I don't know what the gift is because I think everybody knows it. But
She is
I have to
like
be called
that.
out. Yeah. And it was the same thing for me. I know when we talked about like my story, I didn't know that people would pay me to read their human design and gene keys. Like, I just thought everybody knew it. I was like, what do you mean you don't know it? Like, I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nothing. And then people were like, no, girl, people pay for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. Okay. I can make a
People
list.
want this real bad.
And I didn't even know, because to me,
Yeah.
it comes so naturally. So for you, it's the same thing.
Okay, I can get on board with that. Now, are all the purpose orbs split, or are some of them
Yes.
colored? They're all split.
They're all
Always.
split because the purpose sphere actually is not only used in the activation sequence, but in the Venus sequence.
Okay.
So we're done with the activation sequence, right? It's amazing. I love the activation sequence for people. This is actually where I tell them, if you know your shadows here, this is the key, the secret to quantum leaping. And I know that's like, oh my God, I said quantum leap, but let me explain.
Mhm.
But hear me out, folks. Hear me out.
I love that show. I love that phrase.
When you know where the potholes are in the road of life, you can avoid them.
Yeah.
You can maneuver around them. Gene keys are not a one and done thing. You are always going through these shadows, gifts, and the cities. So when you know the shadows of your activation sequence, you can get through them quicker. And when you get through them quicker, you up level quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And then all of a sudden it looks like a quantum leap, because you know what to look for
Mhm.
to heal and to allow and to accept and to embrace. So knowing this is literally the sauce for
Yeah.
quantum leaping.
Can I ask one more thing, and then I want
You can
to
ask
do
5
Kelsey's.
more things.
I want to do Kelsey. The IQ piece.
Yes, ma'am.
Omniscience, farsightedness,
Mhm.
opinion.
Yes.
Yes.
I have that in my chart too, girl.
I am not surprised in the slightest. And then line 5, the practical mind, defensive. Okay, so guys, I'm looking at the IQ, which is in the lower left side if you're just staring at it. Can you tell me just a little bit about this one?
Sure. So in the Venus sequence, which is what we're going to go over, it starts so the Venus sequence is all about opening your heart to love. And we start here with the vocation, which is also another split gene
Right.
key.
Always.
Yeah.
Always split. Okay.
Yes. In the Venus sequence, this is not called your vocation, it's called your core wound. Your core wound eventually becomes your vocation. So your hardest struggle in life becomes what you teach other people. That is your gift, your gift of graciousness. So what we do is we then go from this core wound that came to us before birth. Then we do the next one, which is the SQ, which is the spiritual quotient, is what it is called. It is your life and how it relates between the ages of 0 and 7.
Okay.
Then we go to the EQ, which is your emotional quotient.
Okay.
And that is you at the ages of 7 to 14. Your IQ, which is what you asked for, my dear, is the intelligence quotient. And that is you from the ages of 14 to 21.
Okay.
Can you reflect on those years and see if the shadow of opinion?
Oh, 100%.
There you go.
Yeah. So does this mean, like, what is this when I have a practical mind and I'm not defensive? Like, help me understand like what I need to do, because I do have opinions.
Absolutely, and you should absolutely share them. You have gene key 17. Line 5 is all about the logical way in which you think about them. So you have a very logical mind when it comes to opinions. They're not emotionally charged. It's very
Right.
this, and this. That's what the Lion 5 is. It is
Okay.
literally the logical way in which you have opinions.
Does this
And
mean
how you
that I am a defensive person?
No, I don't think you.
I don't think I am, but I will defend, but I feel
Yeah.
like I have a leg to stand on usually. Because
Well,
I
no,
think
I
that's
mean,
what,
you're willing to defend your
yeah.
position on things because you have opinions, but it doesn't mean that you're going to like go after every single person.
Right. And honestly, Kelsey and I talk about this a lot. Like we both agree that like if new information comes tomorrow that sounds better or convinces me, I'm happy to change my opinion. I'm happy to change my stance. And I think that's maybe that has something to do with my education, my love for education, or like the need to learn, because I won't there's not a lot of hills I'll die on. There's a few of them, but I'm happy to like adjust how I feel depending on like what information comes to light. I'm happy to do that. And I love do that. I think we should all do that. but that's my opinion. But yes, okay. So this sounds really great. I want to go more in depth in the inner circles on Kelsey's. So this is Kelsey's here, and maybe we can explore some of the things that stick out to you about hers and explain some of that.
Well, you both have a 60.2. So
Wait. Oh, the EQ,
so,
the EQ?
yeah. So for you, Lindsay,
Mine, wait, huh? Hold on,
so
mine's 20. Oh, well, I have a 60.2 here.
you have a 60.2 in your radiance, which
Yes.
is mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. When we look at Kelsey, her 60.2 is in her EQ, which is the emotional quotient, which is what 7 to 14. Did you feel in your life, Kelsey, around that age, that there was a lot of constriction and limitation, not only physically, but emotionally?
Yeah, because that's when like around 16, 17 is when I had like a lot of injuries in my body and then I couldn't pursue dancing. And that was like my thing. So yeah, it was very limiting.
Yeah. So yeah, so when we talk about the EQ, it is the pattern that we actually, it's almost like a defense mechanism in the pattern that we go to emotionally, even as adults. But if we recognize it for where it is, like, oh, we learned that from the age of 17, or I'm sorry, the age of 7 to 14, it helps us
Oh my
accept.
God, this is so Kelsey. I don't even know what half this means, but it just feels so like I'm looking at all these words and I'm like, yup.
Right? It's like you get called out, but you feel seen at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So then next is the IQ, which is age, what did you say it was 14 to
It's
21?
14 to 21, and that is the intelligence quotient, and it relates to mental development. Because I mean, just 14 to 21, like that's a hard 7 years. Like, ooh,
No
I
thanks.
can, yeah, right.
Not
Like,
again.
I'm good. I don't need to go back. When we look at yours, okay, so the your shadow is fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have seen the reality check I got with this new puppy. Let me tell you, because I had a whole vision of how it was going to go, and that is not how it's been going yet. But I'm definitely one of those people that like lives in the fantasy and or escapes to the fantasy. If I'm like having anxiety, I'll go watch my favorite like fantasy movie or like just go live in my dream bubble. But this is interesting. I want to get your take on this fantasy thing, because for me, I feel that it's a part of my purpose to bring heaven on earth, which is part of the reason why I have the fantasy aspect very strong. So I can try and create that here in like reality, try and bring the fantasy to real life. But at the same time, yeah, it's been a huge shadow for me my whole life, because I can definitely get stuck in like, oh, it was supposed to be like this, or why isn't it like this? Or it could always be better. Like always, you know?
So it is good to have that creativity. It is good to have that fantasy. It is good to have that
Idealism.
Thank you. I was like, I'm looking for the word, going through the alphabet. I appreciate that. What we want to do is check it. Like, how far is too far? Am I too far into my dreamland that I'm not coming back? Or can we equalize? Can we stabilize? Can we come back? Can we take what we need and then come back down into reality and bring it?
Yeah.
Can you take heaven and little bits at a time, bring it into earth, into your reality, into the reality of your clients, your people, your friends, family, all the things? Can you do that a little bit at a time? 1%. I always tell people 1%.
1% better than yesterday.
1%.
Girl.
Yes.
Yep. I love this down here because I was thinking the word altruism and boom, there it is, down in purpose. Selflessness, altruism, selfishness is the shadow piece to that. Which another shadow over here is arrogance. Kels, geez.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a thing? Like you may be perceived as like a little bit arrogant in the way that you
I don't think I'm
say things,
perceived
or
as
like
arrogant, but
no.
I know that there's a part of me that's arrogant as fuck.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
don't
then-
I don't really let that part out of the box too much because I know
Okay.
she can be a little damaging, but she's in my psyche.
She's a little toxic. It's okay.
She's in there. She hangs
She's
out
in
in
there. Okay.
But people usually read it as confidence. Luckily
Yeah.
for me, people are always like, "Oh, you're so confident. You're so confident. You're so confident." I'm like, "Well, that's good. That's how it goes."
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about these shadows. So we got arrogance. We
You
got selfishness.
got addiction.
We got addiction. I would say that's like
Good
especially
times.
love addiction. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
We got
She loves love.
We got
So the super neat thing, because I love this. I love Gene Keys because like I can just okay. So
Yeah.
your attraction sphere, which is where we're talking about addiction.
Second one from the bottom, guys. Attraction.
That is actually my Chiron. So that's my wounded healer. That's your attraction is what I deal with. Like that is my wound to heal. And it has been coming up a lot lately for me. So for you, when we're in the shadow of addiction, it is that need above everything else to get what you want. And it's like, no matter what, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. And it's not even just something physical. It's
God, that is so true, Kels.
It's like, I have to have it. I cannot live without this. Right?
Or I will not live without this.
Will not
Yeah.
either. When we come up to the gift of invention, it is, and this is my own personal experience with this gene key as being in Chiron, it is taking bits from the things that I think I need and creating something brand new. It is innovation. It is invention. How am I going to take my need for these things that I think I need, and make them good for me, make me feel whole, and then create something brand new.
I like that.
So for you, it's in the attraction sphere. So how do you take the lessons of the relationships that you have had previously that you may overthink over and over again? How do you take that energy and create something brand new to give to the world?
So is this attraction ball? Thank you. Is this attraction ball for like is this how you would interpret that? Like how we manifest things, how we attract things into our lives?
Yes. And
okay.
A lot of times when we're going through the Venus sequence, it's about opening your heart to love. You can, if you so desire, use your attraction sequence for business. And then you would also use it in conjunction with the Pearl sequence, the blue balls.
The blue one at the top.
The blue balls.
Second from the top. Yep.
Write themselves. The jokes write themselves. You can use that for business with your Pearl sequence because your Pearl sequence is prosperity through service to others. So
okay,
you can use it for relationships, or you can also use it for business.
Interesting. So if my
Kelsey's
top word is silence, what does that mean?
Kelsey don't know how, but in like the best way. People need what she says. So
Mhm.
like, what do we do?
So the way that I interpret silence is, in silence, there is infinite wisdom. You
Mhm.
don't have to speak anymore because everything has been spoken. And you can stand firm on your gift of invention. There's no need to
Ooh,
justify. You don't have to justify the shit to anybody because you already know that what you've brought out into the world through invention
beautiful.
is pure and from your heart.
That's cool. Okay, so it's more about like not needing to justify, explain,
Mm-mm.
back up,
Okay, and
like
that would
just
make
do my
sense.
creative thing and then live my best life.
Now this is why this makes sense now, because when you're in that shadow addiction, you have this like weird toxic need to do it, and that can come out as like saying too much, doing too much, that feeling of like I have to have it and I will not live without it. And I like how you, Maureen, explained you can use that in like a light way of like I don't have to say, I'm just going to create from my solar plexus energy. It'll be great and amazing. Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense now. I think I'm getting this.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah. They
She's
go
latching
deep.
up.
Like,
And look, this lust and passion, that I think is the good side of that addiction feeling.
mhm. Yeah,
Boom.
you can be
Wow.
passionate or you can be lustful. It
Right.
doesn't, it's a beautiful, one of the things that I truly do love about the Gene Keys is the different perspective on it. And you can go back and you can look at or listen to the Gene Keys autos and you will pick something up every single time. I've gone through my sequences multiple times over and over, and I'm always picking something else up because it's there when I need it. So
Oof.
I get to tell people what they need to hear in the moment. They can reflect back on it, and then something else will hit them when they need it.
Mm, we like that. So here I'm curious. So the life's work bubble, right next to it, the top word says emancipation, right?
No.
I can't read it.
Oh,
It's really small.
and it says emanate. Wow.
Ah!
Sorry, everyone. Emanation and anticipation.
Oh, emanation. Okay, so what is that?
Wait, there's fantasy again.
Yeah,
Kels.
yeah.
Oh my.
So you can actually, I am one of those people that have the same gene key, the same actual number more than once in my hologenetic profile. So for you, this is an important lesson for this lifetime.
Are you referring to, you're referring to this 41 number
Yeah.
that she has
So-
in IQ and also life's work?
100%.
Okay.
So like 41, the shadow of fantasy, the gift of anticipation, and the city of emanation,
Mhm.
that's going to be a bigger theme for you because you have it in more than one gene key. So it's almost like killing two birds with one stone. That's the way I like to think about it. Like, it's not bad. It's just, as long as when you're become aware of it, you can kind of check the shadow a little bit quicker. So, and it's actually technically in 3 of your gene keys because your life's work in the Pearl sequence is your brand.
So what is the emanation piece? What does that mean? What am I supposed to do, basically? Well, what is, I don't even know what that word means. Hey there, we hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but if you want to listen to the whole thing, we're going to invite you over to our podcast. Either search for High Vibing It on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you guys listen to podcasts, or even better, if you want to watch the extended video version of this episode that's even longer than the actual podcast itself, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/highvibe. Lindsay, tell them what's awesome about the Patreon.
Patreon is where we have all of our extended episodes. As Kelsey said, we have it on video, so you can actually see the things that we're talking about. Sometimes we have visual aids, and it's nice to know what we're talking about. We also have hangouts that we do sometimes that are exclusive to Patreon people. And you can get started with all of this and bonus content and everything that we have only for the Patreon people for as little as $3. I think it's $3.33 a month. And that's it. And you guys can get all the benefits and all access to everything that we put in there. Really
Yeah.
cool.
It's really cool, really fun, super easy to join. And you guys don't even have to do that to finish this episode. If you're like, screw it, I don't want to pay any money, I just want to hear the rest of this episode, go to our podcast, High Vibe in It, search for it wherever you listen. It's totally free. Either way, enjoy the rest of the show wherever you choose to enjoy it. And we will see you guys next week because we do a new one every week. Adios.
Bye.